do you believe all these supernatural encounters that people experienced or you experienced are beings, or are they kind of like spiritual STDs that are kind of being, mimetically caught? And if we want to look at it from a kind of Girardian standpoint, that you're kind of catching the desires of other people, and they're becoming voices in your head, and you're not able, I mean, not that there isn't beings that are spiritual, but rather you may assume something is an actual being when it's rather a mimetic, script that you've kind of become possessed by from other people's influences.
So what's interesting is that Gerard's intuition and his insight isn't as original as some people understand. What he's done a very good job of putting a type of lens by which we can experience it, or if you will, a vernacular by which it makes sense to us, because we're fundamentally materialists here in the West. But the patristic fathers of the Eastern Church have rightly understood this and experienced it, and they call them logismi. They're logismi. They are thoughts, and these thoughts, they aren't thoughts as you think thoughts. They aren't I'm hungry and I want a sandwich, right? These thoughts are essentially an image compounded with what's called a passion in the Eastern Church. A passion is a wound which someone has sustained, right? So let's understand this. All passions are sins, but not all sins are passions, right? So let's just say you're a glutton. Let's just say that that's a thing. And you've inherited that from your family, right? It's something that is particular to you, your family system, to your culture, right? Now, let's say you go to the grocery store and for whatever reason, you steal a bottle of Dimetap. You don't know why, whatever, you had a sore throat, whatever the deal is, but you don't have a problem with stealing, right? It's just not a thing that you do, but you did it. So we would say you committed a sin, right? It's a sin. However, the gluttony is a passion. It's something, it's a persistent, chronic, quote unquote, wound or sin, right? That you have sustained. So now this wound, right, which is multiple, there's multiple facets to it, like I said, your social dynamic on the micro and macro level. Now, what happens is you perceive something with your noetic faculty, with your mind, right, which not your discursive mind, but your nous. You see something, you're like, oh, gold, right? Okay, gold. Well, gold, how do you understand that? Well, we can understand gold as a material that can also reveal to us symbolically the glory of God, value, however you want to look at it, right? It's a simple thought, right? Gold, okay? But gold being compounded with your passion now becomes, if I have that gold, I can buy a whole lot of fried chicken, right? And then now what happens is you no longer can see gold for what it is on a simple level. It's compounded with this thought. Now it becomes a logisme. That logisme now becomes a means by which now in contemporary quote unquote psychological terms, we would say are intrusive thoughts, right? But really, these kind of STDs, they're logisme. And they actually are these kind of, they exist on the level. I would have people understand them like this. They're not demons, but they're the horses that drive the chariots that the demons ride in on.
And do you catch them from other people, or do they come from your soul? That's the question.
Well, there's multiple sources because these logisme, these thoughts, they originate from the evil ones. They originate from our flesh, right? And they also originate from, if you begin to understand that, this is something that people who begin to practice contemplative prayer, when you practice contemplative prayer, especially if you don't have a guide, you'll encounter phenomena, which is somewhat disturbing. You'll have thoughts, you'll have images, you'll have experiences that aren't yours. And it's almost like you're being hooked up. It's almost like you're going through the radio.
Yeah.
Those are those who can remember radio. Sometimes you get static.
I'm on radio every day. You can't say that.
Well, you're on digital radio though.
I'm on FM and AM too, though. Yeah.
Oh, you are? Okay, perfect. So people know turning the dial, you would get static sometimes.
Right.
And sometimes something from Spanish would pop in or some kind of show, and you're like, what is that? Right. This is very much an experience where people have, because the nous is a receiver, right? When we open ourselves up, if you put your antenna up, if you will, you'll begin to receive all kinds of messages. right? And so long before Gerard, the fathers of the church,
Sure.
the Eastern Church, already understood this.